Aesop's Fables. 1. The Cock and the Pearl. A cock was once strutting up and down the farmyard among the hens, when suddenly he espied something shinning amid the straw. Oh. Of the... and soon rooted it out from beneath the straw. What did it turn out to be? But a pearl that by some chance had been lost in the yard. "You may be a treasure," quoth Master Cock, "to men that prize you, but for me, I would rather have a single barley corn than a peck of pearls." Precious things are for those that can prize them. Aesop's Fables. 2. The Wolf and the Lamb. Once upon a time, a wolf was lapping at a spring on a hillside, when looking up, what should he see but a lamb just beginning to drink a little lower down. "There's did he? Yes, one nice supper," thought he. "If only I can find some stew on war." But before she died, she gasped out, "Any excuse will serve a tyrant. Aesop's Fables 3. The Dog and the Shadow. It happened that a dog had got a piece of meat and was carrying it home in his mouth to eat it in peace. Now on his way home he had to cross a plank lying across a running brook. As he crossed, he looked down and saw his own shadow reflected in the water beneath. Thinking it was another dog with another piece of meat, he made up his mind to have that also. So he snapped at the shadow in the water. But as he opened his mouth, the piece of meat fell out, dropped into the water, was never seen more. Beware lest you lose the substance by grasping at the shadow. Aesop's Fables. The Lion's Share. The lion went once a-hunting along with the fox, the jackal, and the wolf. They hunted, and they hunted, till at last they surprised a stag. And soon took its life. Then came the question how the spoil should be divided. "Quarter me this stag," roared the lion. So the other animals skinned it and cut it into 4 parts. Then the lion took his stand in front of the carcass and pronounced judgment. "The first quarter is for me in my capacity as king of beasts. The second is mine as arbiter. Another share comes to me for my part in the chase." Grumbled the fox as he walked away with his tail between his legs. But he spoke in a low growl. "You may share the labors of the great, but you will not share the spoil." Aesop's Fables 5. The Wolf and the... A wolf had been gorging on an animal he had killed, when suddenly a small bone in the meat stuck in his throat, and he could not swallow it. He soon felt terrible pain in his throat, and ran up and down groaning and seeking for something to relieve the pain. He tried to induce everyone he met to remove the bone. If you would take anything," said he, "if you would take it out." At last the crane agreed to try, and told the wolf to lie on his side and open his jaws as wide as he could. Then the crane put its long neck down the wolf's throat, and with its beak loosened the bone, till at last it got it out. "Will you kindly give me the reward you promised?" said the crane. The wolf grinned and showed his teeth and said, "Be content. You have put your head inside a wolf's mouth and taken it out again in safety. That ought to be reward enough for you. Gratitude and greed." Go not together. Aesop's Fables, 6th story. The man. When the serpent, countryman's son, by accident trod upon a serpent's tail, which turned and bit him so that he died. The father in a rage got his axe, and pursuing the serpent, cut off part of its tail. The serpent, in revenge, began stinging several of the farmer's cattle and caused him severe loss. Well, the farmer thought it best to make it up with the serpent, and brought food and honey to the mouth of its lair, and said to it, "Let's forget and forgive. Perhaps you were right to punish my son, and take vengeance on my cattle, but surely I was right in trying to revenge him." "No, no," said the serpent. "Take away your gifts." Silence. Seven. The country mouse. Now you must know that a town mouse, once upon a time, went on a visit to his cousin in the country. He was rough and ready, this cousin. But he loved his town friend, and made him heartily welcome. Beans and bacon, cheese and bread were all he had to offer, but he offered them freely. The town mouse rather turned up his long nose at this country fare and said, "I cannot understand, cousin, how you can put up with such poor food as this. But of course you cannot expect anything better in the country. Come you with me, and I will show you how to live. When you have been in town a week, you will wonder how you could ever have stood a country life." No sooner said than done. The two mice set off for the town and arrived at the town mouse's residence late at night. "You will want some refreshment after our long journey," said the polite town mouse, and took his friend into the grand dining room. There they found the remains of a fine feast, and soon the two mice were eating up jellies and cakes and all that was nice. Suddenly they heard growling and barking. "What is that?" said the country mouse. "It is only the dogs of the house," answered the other. "Only..." said the country mouse. "I do not like that music at my dinner." "Goodbye, cousin," said the country mouse. "What? Going so soon?" said the other. "Yes," he replied. Better beans and bacon and peace. Oh, the fox and the fox and the crow. A fox once saw a crow fly off with a piece of cheese in its beak and settle on a branch of a tree. "That's for me, as I am a fox," said Master Reynard, and he walked up to the foot of the tree. "Good day, Mistress Crow," he cried. "How well you are looking today. How glossy your feathers. How bright your eye. I feel sure your voice must surpass that of other birds, just as your figure does. Let me hear but one song from you, that I may greet you as the queen of birds." The crow lifted up her head and beat the caw her best. "That will do," said he. "That was all I wanted. In exchange for your cheese, I will give you a piece of advice for the future. Do not trust flatterers. Aesop's fables. The sick lion. A lion had come to the end of his days and lay sick unto death at the mouth of his cave, gasping for breath. The animals, his subjects, came round him and drew nearer as he grew more and more helpless. When they saw him on the point of death, they thought to themselves, "Now is the time to pay off old grudges." So the boar came up and drove at him with his tusks. Then a bull gored him with his horns. Still the lion lay helpless before them. So the ass, feeling quite safe from danger, came up, and turning his tail to the lion, kicked up his heels into his face. "This is a double death," growled the lion. "Only cowards insult dying majesty." Aesop's fables. Aesop's fables. The Ass and the Lapdog. A farmer one day came to the stables to see to his beasts of burden. Among them was his favorite ass, that was always well fed and often carried his master. With the farmer came his lapdog, who danced about and licked his hand and frisked about as happy as could be. The farmer felt in his pocket, gave the lapdog some dainty food, and sat down while he gave his orders to his servants. The lapdog jumped into his master's lap and lay there blinking while the farmer stroked his ears. The ass, seeing this, broke loose from his halter and commenced prancing about in imitation of the lapdog. The farmer could not hold his sides with laughter, so the ass went up to him, and putting his feet upon the farmer's shoulder, attempted to climb into his lap. The farmer's servants rushed up with sticks and pitchforks, and soon taught the ass that clumsy jesting is no joke. The Lion and the Mouse. Once when a lion was asleep, a little mouse began running up and down upon him. This soon wakened the lion, who placed his huge paw upon him and opened his big jaws to swallow him. Said the little mouse. Forgive me this time. I shall never forget it. Who knows but what I may be able to do you? A turn some of these days. The lion was so tickled at the idea of the mouse being able to help him that he lifted up his paw. Sometime after, the lion was caught in a trap, and the hunters who desired to carry him alive to the king tied him to a tree while they went in search of a wagon to carry him on. Just then, the little mouse happened to pass by, and seeing the sad plight in which the lion was, went up to him and soon gnawed away the ropes that bound the king of the beasts. Was I not right? Said the little mouse. Little friends may prove great friends. The swallow and the other birds. It happened that a countryman was sowing some hemp seeds in a field where a swallow and some other birds were hopping about picking up their food. "Beware of that man," quoth the swallow. "Why?" "What is he doing?" said the others. "He's sowing. Be careful to pick up every one of the seeds, or else you will repent it." The birds paid heed to the swallow's words, and by the hemp grew up and was made into cord, and of the cords nets were made. And many a bird that had despised the swallow's advice was caught in nets made out of that very hemp. "What did I tell you?" said the swallow. "Destroy the seed of evil, or it will grow up to your ruin." Aesop's Fable 13. Day. The frogs. The frogs, desiring a king. The frogs were living as happy as could be in a marshy swamp. That just suited them. They went splashing about, caring for nobody, and nobody troubling with them. But some of them thought that this was not right, that they should have a king and a proper constitution. So they determined to send up a petition to Jove to give them what they wanted. "Mighty Jove," they cried, "send unto us a king that will rule over us and keep us in order." Jove laughed at their croaking and threw down into the swamp a huge log, which came down splash to the swamp. The frogs were frightened out of their lives by the commotion made in their midst, and all rushed to the bank to look at the horrible monster. But after a time, seeing that it did not move, one or two of the boldest of them ventured out towards the log, and even dared to touch it. Still, it did not move. Then the greatest hero of the frogs jumped upon the log, and commenced dancing up and down upon it. Thereupon all the frogs came, and did the same. And for some time, the frogs went about their business every day, without taking the slightest notice of their new king log, lying in their midst. But this did not suit them, so they sent another petition to Jove, and said to him, "We want a real king, one that will really rule over us." Now this made Jove angry, so he sent among them a big stork that soon set to work, gobbling them all up. Then the frogs repented when too late. Better no rule than cruel rule.